What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot Time coming at you on Monday morning. Continuing on with our series of 2024 SEC schedule previews, and up today, one of my favorite teams, the Florida Gators. But before we get into that, if you're new around here, give a smidgen of consideration to staying true around here by subscribing to this channel. Click the thumbs up on this video if you enjoy the content here. We do college football videos all year long, and we have a heck of a good time doing it. Now, this is by no means a preview for the 2024 season. We're not going to look at these games and predict win-loss records. I just want to kind of give a quick overview of where Florida's at right now, what they did last year, and then we're going to go through the 2024 schedule and look at the games, the matchups, where the off weeks are at, the series records against some of these teams. And in the comment section below, I'll give you guys a chance to let me know how you think the Florida Gators are going to fare out in 2024. I'm going to tell you, just fair warning, this schedule is absolutely brutal. I know that if you're any kind of college football fan, you've heard that repeated and regurgitated and recycled over and over this offseason about, oh my God, that 2024 schedule for Florida is, well, that's not a stretch. It is very difficult, but we're going to go over that in just a second. First off, the 2024 recruiting class, they're currently ranked number 15, which they were ranked up as high as number 3. They had some decommitments, though, before signing day, and are now sitting at 15th. Really not that good by Florida standards. They expect to be top 10, if not top 5, and it's just not happening right now. They're number 16 in the transfer portal rankings. They lost Trevor Etienne, 753 yards, 8 touchdowns last year. He had 750-something yards the year before, and kind of operating out of a kind of a dual running back room there with Montrell Johnson. A lot of times you'll see one running back get a whole lot more carries than the other one. These two kind of split the carries pretty evenly, and I really think Etienne, who's transferred to Georgia, is probably set to be one of your next breakout stars in college football. This guy is uber talented. You saw what his brother did at Clemson and now in the NFL. So look for some good things there. That was a big loss for Florida. And then Princely, I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce his last name. The big edge rusher who's been there for several years, 7 sacks last year. He transferred out to Ole Miss. So those are a couple of significant losses. You did bring in a few decent pieces. Grimsley, the cornerback from Alabama, looks like a good player. And then Grayson Pup Howard, who decided to leave my South Carolina Gamecocks and come to Florida because he said he wanted to come closer to home. He probably wanted to come closer to that biggity bag is what he was wanting. But anyway, he's down there. Nothing but luck and success I wish for you, sir. So 2023, Florida finished up 5-7 on the season. A pretty disappointing record, even by Florida standards. I think they probably were pegged to probably finish about 6-6 or 7-5. And if you look at that record, you should have been 4-8. You should have lost to my Gamecocks. I mean, the team was up by 10 or no 11. 10 or 11. I can't remember. I'm so mad about it anymore. I chose to kind of block it out. With 2 minutes left, we literally had a 97% chance to win the game. If you've ever looked at those things on the ESPN page that shows after a game, it'll say percent to win. It'll have this team here and this one here. And like our line was garnet and theirs was blue, and they go like this. We were 97% to win at that point in the ball game, and we blew it. But on the flip side, you could also turn around and say, well, Florida could have easily been 6-6 or 7-5 if they had won games against Mizzou, which they hung with blow for blow. And Mizzou in kind of a flat spot after that big win against Tennessee at home. Didn't play that great against Florida, But they played really good when it counted on the last drive of the game. Florida goes down 33-31 on the road. And then a game against Arkansas at home, which you lost, that was just a brutal loss. That was Arkansas's only SEC win of the season. Florida loses 39-36 in overtime. Made me want to gouge my eyes out because that was only a couple of weeks after they had beat us at home. So are you going to be any better in 2024? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'll tell you that. We'll look at this slate right now. You start off on August 31st. You're at home against Miami. Now, your first three games are at home, so that's a plus. These teams have kind of met on semi-regular basis. Last meeting in 2019, Florida won that one. Last meeting before that was a loss in 2013. Miami's a team that, are they going to be on an upward trajectory or not? They seem to disappoint almost every year. They got blown out in their bowl game against Rutgers. I don't really know. I would think this is a game that Florida could win, and probably a game that many would argue they probably should win, being that's at home. Still not sold on it, though. On the 7th, you take on Samford of the Southern Conference. It's a game Florida should easily win. You remember right after Dan Mullen got fired. It's hard for me to remember exactly the time frame of that one. They had a really a really back and forth game with Samford. I think it was the week after they lost to South Carolina in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And y'all beat them like 60-something to 50-something, maybe. You gave up like 700 yards of offense to this FCS school. So Samford, maybe, we've got things settled down here, and Billy Napier gets an easy win. You should. On the 14th, you're taking on Texas A&M at home. Another disappointing team, a perpetually disappointing team that finished up, I think, 7-5 last year. You're 3-3 against them all time. You won back in 2022 on the road in College Station in a game that I think Texas A&M was missing a lot of players there. I think some folks were sick. But anyway, you beat them pretty soundly there. This, to me, at home, with a new coach, new coaching staff, is a coin flippy type game. At home, you could be 2-1 after this game. You could be 1-2, but then you go on the road to take on Mississippi State on the 21st. It's a team that you have not played since 2018. It's a road game, a road environment. That's a tough road environment to play in. Especially if that team's got a little bit of momentum behind them. And look, if I'm Mississippi State, and they're not projected to have a real good first year under Jeff Lebby, but if I'm looking at this schedule, and I'm thinking this is a game I can win. So that one may be kind of tough for you. I mean, one could argue that game may be tougher to win than the Texas A&M game at home or the Miami game at home. I know that sounds a little crazy, but college football is a little crazy. We've all experienced that. Then you're off, and then you come back home on the 5th of October to take on UCF. This is a team that went to a bowl game last year, won it. You're 2-1 against them all time. Now, your two wins came when they were kind of a lower-level school. You lost the bowl game against them, the Gasparilla Bowl, back at the end of the 2021 season. That was after Mullen had already been fired. Two teams kind of got into a fight after the game. It was a real chippy situation there. But UCF's been on the come up. I think Gus Malzahn was the right head coaching hire for them. They had some success last year in the Big 12. You saw them have some success one week, and then the next week they'd get blown out. So it's kind of back and forth there. This is certainly a losable game. But, just looking at it on paper, I would think this is one that Florida could win, especially coming off that bye week. Maybe you've beaten Miami, Texas A&M, Mississippi. Maybe you come in 3-1 or 4-0, and you've got some confidence rolling into here. You're going to need some confidence. You guys will see in a minute why. The next week, you're on the road at Tennessee. This is a game you're going to be an underdog in. However, you have beaten them 17 out of the last 20 meetings. Those 3 losses were in Knoxville. You lost the last time you were in Knoxville by 5 in a game that it really wasn't as close as that final score indicated. I think you're going to be an underdog here, and this is going to be a tough spot for Florida to win in. Tennessee really wants this one back after that loss last year. That was Billy Napier, probably his best win since he's been at Florida, was the 29-17 win over Tennessee at home. It's either that or I don't know. I'm looking here at something that I had something in my mind that might have been his best win also, but I can't remember what it was right now. It's not important. Another tough game the next week at home against Kentucky, a team that you've lost 3 in a row against after you kind of dominated them for a long stretch dating back to the early 1980s. 4 out of the last 6 you've dropped to them. Is it kind of like Kentucky to Florida is kind of now becoming like Florida to Tennessee, wherein I mean that one of the programs kind of looks like it should be better than the other one, but for some reason the other one just provides them with a house of horrors. Maybe I'm speaking out of school on that one, but you seem to struggle with Kentucky. Then you're off. You get your second bye week here, and this is the stretch I was talking about. This last stretch of games, your final 5 games of the season, is brutal, and you could even come in here at 6-1. You could roll into this last half of the season, this from November 2nd on, at 6-1, and you could end up with a 6-6 final record, and still not be a really bad football team after dropping them. On the 2nd, you're taking on Georgia in Jacksonville. The 2 out of 3 national championships, last 2 out of 3 national championships have belonged to Georgia. Had they played and won this past season, according to James Cook, if you read anything on Twitter yesterday or today, he says they didn't want them in the national championship game because they didn't want to win 3 in a row. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. They didn't win against Alabama, so we'll never know. But they could have won it all. 6 out of the last 7, they've beat you. I said 3 in a row. I don't see any end to that streak this year. It's hard to look at that right now. And I know I said I'm not making this a preview video, but it's kind of hard not to throw some opinions in there. On the 9th, you're on the road at Texas. This is going to be your 2 toughest games of the season are back-to-back. Actually, 3 out of your 4 toughest games of the season are kind of in the stretch here. It's weird. Florida and Texas haven't really met a lot on the football field. You met in 1924, 1939, and 1940. You've lost twice, and there was 1 tie there. So you were probably going to those games on a train or in a horse-drawn carriage. I'm not sure. But Texas returns a lot off of a team that made the college football playoff last year. They look heads and shoulders right now the better team of the 2 that are coming into the SEC, that being the other one, Oklahoma. Even though Oklahoma beat them last year, I mean, we kind of look at what happened down the stretch with those teams. I think Texas is a lot better. This is going to be another brutal game. Would it shock me if Florida were to beat Texas on the road? Yeah, it absolutely would. I think that I'm almost ready to put this in the unwinnable category. On the 16th, you are back at home you're back at home against LSU. You get these last 2 games at home, And I think it's crucial that you try to win one of these two. I mean, I know you're going to try to win them, but that you can try to steal one of these two. LSU, you've lost 5 in a row to them. Look, since 1953, them and Florida have played every year, except for a little 3-year stretch between 68 and 70. I don't know what happened there, but you played every year, and it kind of goes in kind of 5 to 10 year increments of dominance with these teams. Florida was dominating in the 2000s. LSU dominated them in the 1980s. In the 1990s, Florida was pretty dominant. But then ever since about 2010, LSU's kind of owned this series. They only dropped like 3 games to you since that point. No Jaden Daniels down there. Malik Neighbors will be gone. So what kind of pieces does Brian Kelly bring in to replace those players with? You know they're going to be talented. You know that defense is going to be improved from what it was last year. That was just a comedy of error. The defense was absolutely terrible, and I say it was comedic because of the amount of talent that they had on that defense that they were so bad. They bring in Blake Baker from Mizzou, who had a really good season last year. Had to put a really good product on the field there to try to shore up that side of the ball. Ole Miss on the 23rd, you're at home against them. This is a team that, Lane Kiffin just absolutely cleaned up on the transfer portal. He's ranked number 1 in that right now. They are a team that is like everybody's got them in the playoffs this coming year. And when you look at the talent that they're bringing in, along with what they've got there right now, then coupled with their results this season, it's kind of hard to dispute that. This could be a top 5 team coming into Gainesville on the 23rd. I look at those two. I think this is probably the tougher game. And I think on most years you wouldn't say that. But I think this one is going to be really, really tough for you. You've beaten them 2 times in a row, but this has not been a regular SEC opponent for you. And then on November 30th, you'll wind it up. You're on the road at Florida State, your arch rival, a team that you've been back and forth with throughout the years. These teams will go on 3-4 year runs where the one's beating the other. You do own the overall series against them, but you've lost the last 2 as their program has kind of risen up and yours has kind of seemingly taken a step back. Last year, I don't think you played terrible against them, but I would have thought that Florida actually stood a chance to win that ball game, given the injury situation with Florida State, and you weren't able to make it happen when, like the previous week, you had went on the road to Mizzou and put up a really, really good fight against a really good team, a team that I think if they played Florida State would have mopped the field with them. But that's just me, not biased for Mizzou or anything, but just look at this product, look at that product. What do you think? But I don't know what to think of them in 2024. They're recruiting pretty well, but that's a team that's got some losses. They definitely have some losses on both sides of the ball. And I don't know if he's got the pieces. I don't know if the pieces that Norvell is bringing in is going to be able to replicate and duplicate the success that they had, especially this past season. DJ Uiagalelei be the quarterback. Is he going to be able to do Jordan Travis things, man? I don't know. He started out like a house of fire at Oregon State this past season, but kind of down the stretch, he kind of regressed into just kind of being mediocre. I don't know. I think Florida State may have been able to got someone a little bit better than that, but that's who you're stuck with, so we'll see what happens there. So this has been a kind of a longer video. Let me know down in the comment section below who you think Florida's toughest game is going to be. I think it's pretty obvious. Tell me what you think the Florida Gators record may be in 2024. They're going to finish with a losing record. I mean, if they finish up like 7-5 or 8-4 with this schedule, man, I think that Billy Napier, if they finish 8-4 with this schedule, I think that Billy Napier should be in consideration for SEC Coach of the Year, and that everyone would owe him a big apology. But I don't know. It's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. There's going to be a link down in the description box that's going to have a playlist of the teams that I've done so far as the 2024 schedule previews go. Check that out. I will see you guys later. I appreciate it. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!